toddler right now. He still does his hand flapping. It doesn't matter what the situation is. He could be happy, he could be sad, he could be frustrated, upset. All of the emotions, he's going to hand flap. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you guys have tuned in today. For today's video, I really just wanted to dive in and just talk about the different signs of autism that we see or we have seen in our toddler. He is now 3 years old. But I just wanted to go over just a couple of signs. Even though autism is just so broad, there's just not a cookie cutter. This is exactly what it looks like. That's what made it really difficult for us to move forward and to just get our son evaluated, because there wasn't no just concrete, yes, you have to, your child has to exhibit these specific behaviors. And it's just not like that. It's just not like that at all. But I just wanted to dive in and just go over some of the signs that we have seen in our son, and hopefully that this will help you guys in deciding if your toddler or if your child exhibit these same behaviors, and if you think you should move forward with getting them evaluated for autism. So the very first thing, I just want to just go back to when he was an infant. I first started noticing signs of autism when our son was about 8 or 9 months old. It was just very subtle things that just didn't seem quite normal behavior. The very first thing that I noticed was the hand flapping. That was the number one that just struck me to the core, and I was like, well, is this, like, you don't want to see it, because nobody wants to accept that something is wrong with their child, but it's something that I couldn't ignore at the same time. So he was about 8 or 9 months old, and he started doing the hand flapping just anytime. If he was upset, if he was happy, if he was just casually just moving around furniture, he would do hand flapping. If he was playing with his toys, anything that he was doing, he would do a lot of hand flapping, and that just raised a red flag to me. And that's when I brought it to my husband, and my husband was like, no, I don't think so, you know, just give it time. He's just a baby. But, you know, as a mom, mother's instincts, it's kind of hard to just ignore it and just, you know, move on. And that was just one thing that I just could not unsee once I've seen it. Another thing was his eye contact. He would make eye contact with us, but it wasn't where we could just have a casual conversation like anybody else. But of course, he was a baby going into toddler. But it was just, he would look at us, but then he'll go this way, you know. He would answer us, not answer us, but he would respond to us, calling him by his name. He would respond, he would look, but, you know, he always would turn his head if we're talking to him. He wouldn't just look at us while we're talking to him all the time. And even now as a toddler, he's 3 years old, he just turned 3, he's still like that. And even our daughter said the same thing. She was like, Mommy, he doesn't always look at me. Every time I'm telling him something, he looks off, you know, he doesn't just really want to pay attention to me, or, you know, and he doesn't have to necessarily be in his own little zone, like being busy, playing with his toys or whatever. That's just his thing. He doesn't look at us. So another thing that was very concerning to me, I think my husband was concerned, but at the same time wasn't. But another thing was speech delay. Our son really did not start talking until he was 2. And I mean, he wasn't saying anything, like absolutely anything. I honestly thought that our son was going to be nonverbal. He wasn't saying mama, dad, daddy, like he wasn't saying anything. Anytime he wanted to communicate with us, he would point, he would make gestures, or he would make his little noises that he makes. He just you know, that's all he would do. And so it was just very concerning to me. And I, mentioned to my husband that we may have to get him in speech therapy, because we just didn't know. Like, that was the first time for us, with our daughter, our oldest daughter. She was talking on her first birthday. She was talking, she was walking. She was just doing so much. She was so advanced. And so going from that to our son, that's what, I'm like, even though I know every child is different, every child develops on their own schedule, on their own time. They do not, go by textbook or what the parents think they should be. But at the same time, it was like, I know he shouldn't be just saying full-on sentences, but at the same time, he should be saying something, little phrases, simple words. It was, becoming very, prevalent that something wasn't right. He really started talking more beginning of 2022, right before we gave birth to our third baby. So that was just, relief to us, especially to me, because, I'm home with him all day, every day. And so I would see how his development was going and, trying to do all of the things that I know to do as a mom and as to educate him and to help him. But it just wasn't, it wasn't getting anywhere. But, over time, his speech has been phenomenal. It has grown and developed so much in the last year. We've just been so excited about his growth, and we have been paying close attention to any regressions that he may have in his speech. He still has gestures. He still goes back to his gestures, making his sounds. Really, with his speech has, although it has improved, it's at certain times where he would speak. I always tell my husband that he reminds me of Brick from The Middle. If you've ever seen the show The Middle, Brick would be talking and when you'd be like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, what did you say? And then he'll go, like, that's my son. That is our son. He will say, Mommy, I want a snack, but he won't say it out super loud. Like, he'll just be talking, saying, Mommy, I want a snack. And I'll be like, I'm sorry, baby, what did you say? I want a snack. And it is the funniest, cutest thing ever when he does it. Like, if I could ever catch it on video, I will. But it is just the cutest thing. But, it's just a lot of different things that we just look for in his speech, just to make sure that nothing goes backwards and that he just continuously progresses. And also, as a toddler right now, he still does his hand flapping. It doesn't matter what the situation is. He could be happy, he could be sad, he could be frustrated, upset. All of the emotions, he's going to hand flap. Even when he's concentrating and playing, he hand flaps. Like, it's an all-day thing, every day. It doesn't matter what the emotion is, these hands get to going. Like, he mainly does this, and he fidgets a lot. He fidgets with his hands a lot, and he could just be standing there and doing this. So it just doesn't matter what emotion it is, nervous, excited, new environment, anything that is different, or just any type of emotion, he goes directly to hand flap. Personal hygiene. Personal hygiene, as a infant and toddler, you wouldn't think that it would be a big deal, but it really is. When you because of course we're the parents, we're going to be taking care of his personal hygiene, but it's not as simple as it sounds. Giving him a bath was a struggle. In the beginning, as an infant, it was fine, nothing serious. We even introduced him and put him in swim lessons. Unfortunately, we had to take him out of swim lessons when I got to maybe 36 weeks pregnant. I just couldn't do it anymore, and because of my husband's schedule, and plus, trying to match it with his off days, with the swim school off days, days that they could offer for him during my husband's off days, it was just a headache. So we had to like legit just pull him out because I physically couldn't take him at the time. And that helped with his fear of water. But he loves water at the same time. It's so weird. I don't even know how to explain it. But taking a shower or taking a bath at one point got really difficult. Because it's just me. My husband is a truck driver. So it's a lot of the parenting is on me during the week. So for me, it's just easier to just stand him right here, give him a quick shower and just get out, because I have the little one, so I'm always, trying to stay on a schedule, but at the same time, it's a lot. So I'm not always able to give him just a sit down bath. I have to take him a quick little shower and boom, we're out. But taking a shower sometimes, or just being in the water period, he's like, I don't want to take a bath. I don't want no bath. And like sometimes he'll get really upset. Like he would cry, and it's not just the typical, your toddler just don't want to take a bath. Sometimes it's like every night. Like this past week was a struggle all the way around. It was just a struggle for him and for me. And I have to remember at times not to get frustrated, because there's only so much that he can communicate to me. And he has his emotions, and he doesn't know how to process those emotions. As a toddler, of course not. But even more so, he doesn't get why certain things happen or certain things are going on, and it just upsets him. So that has been not the toughest thing, but it has been an issue, and still an ongoing issue at times. Another thing is brushing his teeth. Brushing his teeth, oh my gosh, that was, and still to this day can be like pulling teeth with no anesthesia. Like seriously, brushing his teeth was very, very, very hard. For kids with autism, sounds and textures is a very, very, very big thing. And for him, I don't know if it was both or one or the other, but it would freak him out. He would legit cry, and not just cry, he would scream like we would be like torturing him. That's how hard and how much he would be screaming and crying. So one way that I found that helps him with his being able to brush his teeth is singing a song. So I have came up with so many different songs with using just tunes from different songs that he already knows, like nursery rhymes and things of that nature. So doing that, it actually calmed him down by singing any type of song that I would come up with, like literally on the spot while I'm brushing his teeth. Or even before I start brushing his teeth, I just started singing the song, just random, brushing his teeth to row, row, row your boat. Like literally, I would just come up with a song, and that would calm him down, and I would be able to really just brush his teeth and do it for the full time. Sometimes he's not so susceptible to it, and he'll pull back a lot because he's not very much on touching. So I would try to hold him just a little bit just to get his teeth, because he would move. He would turn his head because he doesn't want to make any eye contact with me. It's hard for him to just look at me, while I'm brushing his teeth. So he would turn his head. So I'm trying to get him to focus on something else, or, try to distract him of any way possible that I can so that I can brush his teeth. And when he would stay with my parents, he would not let my mom brush his teeth. So I would have to come over to her house just to brush his teeth. Like nobody else could brush his teeth but me or my husband. And that was very, very difficult, especially if my husband and I had something to do and we couldn't just come over and brush his teeth. So it's like, oh my goodness, my son is not allowing my mom to brush his teeth. And it would be a lot. It would be a lot, and my mom just couldn't fight with him, didn't want to fight with him, because she doesn't want to see him upset to try to brush his teeth. So thankfully, he is in a place now with my mom's persistence to just continue to try. He's finally has allowed her to brush his teeth. So that is just tremendous progress for him, because it's been quite a while since my mom has been trying to brush his teeth when he's with her. And the last thing with personal hygiene is hair care. So our son, as an infant, had plenty of curls. Very, very pretty curls, thick hair. And I would do his hair. Like, as an infant, I would do his hair. But as time went on, it became a serious problem. It got to the point where I told my husband, babe, we can't keep his hair. Like, I know we talked about this and not wanting to cut his hair, because neither one of us wanted to cut his hair. We wanted his hair long. We all have locks. We're a family that all rocking locks, and you're not gonna see my locks because this hair needs a retwist. It needs a wash and retwist, so no hair. But we were planning on locking his hair, and it just got to the point where I just couldn't do it. I could not do his hair without him screaming to the top of his lungs. And it wouldn't be that it was hurting him, because I could tell if it was hurting, but he literally cannot stand anybody to touch his hair. Nobody. He would run, he would hide, he would even hide the brush, the comb, anything that I would use for his hair, he'd hide it, or he'll throw it. He just didn't like it, and I would literally have to follow him. And to this day, I still have to follow him around just to brush his hair, just to comb it. Even though we've cut it, my husband is doing the best that he can to cut his hair, and that is very, very difficult with a toddler that will not sit down for nothing. Yesterday was a breakthrough though, because my husband was able to just touch up his little hair, and he did not run. He still cried. He did not scream bloody murder, but it was manageable. So my husband was able to just get a little bit off to try to make it even, because my poor son has been walking around here for months with uneven haircut. Just uneven haircut, everything, because it's just really difficult, and we can't take him to a barber. Well, we can take him to a barber, but we won't, because we don't want to traumatize him more than he already is just being at home with us doing his hair. So we don't take him to the barber yet. We're just waiting. Our stylist is a barber that retwists our locks. She is a barber as well, and she's just waiting. She says whenever he's ready, I'll be ready for him, you know. And that's just so beautiful, because you want someone to understand where your kid is developmentally and where they are emotionally, and trying to navigate through autism is tough. And you always want someone to be on your side and to understand and to recognize, you know, when your child is having a difficult time. And so to know that she's there and supporting us and just waiting on the day that he's ready, that is just so awesome. So once he's ready, we'll start sending him to the barber, or, you know, my husband will still cut his hair. So we'll just see how it goes. You know, it's really hard. Like I said, my husband is a truck driver, so a lot of the times, you know, it's just tough. So another thing that is really, really hard for my son is noise. And it could be the baby crying. The baby crying can be just too much for him, and he'll just cover his ears. Public restrooms, oh my goodness, public restrooms, because of the toilets, the commercial grade, I guess it's commercial grade toilets, that automatically flush by themselves, or just flush period, he freaks out. So now that he's fully potty trained and we go to the restrooms in public, like if we will go to Walmart or to Target, I would sit him on the potty, let him use the restroom, and I would hurry up and just have to get him out of the stall and close the door just for the toilet to flush, because he cannot stand the toilet flushing. Like, it literally freaks him out. He doesn't like it, and he, like, even him going to the restroom, he's very apprehensive about going to the bathroom, because he knows that it's going to automatically flush. So he already is like, anxiety is on a million, because he doesn't want to hear that. Like, that freaks him out. In the car, if the music is too loud, he will tell me in a minute, "Mommy, too loud, mommy, too loud." Like, he just cannot handle loud noise, loud, anything. And it's really funny that unless it's music he wants. So at church, he is perfectly fine with the music, but you know, that is therapy for him. Music is therapy for him. So he loves the instruments. He loves when we're worshiping. That is his favorite. Oh my goodness, that's his favorite. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Touch. Goodness. Children with autism does not do well with touch. He doesn't even allow me as his mom to touch him at times. And a lot of the times I actually go to him and I'll say, is it okay if mommy have a hug? Is it okay if I hold your hand? It's just different things. Now, if we're outside and we're walking, of course, if we're walking across the street, I don't give him an option to hold my hand. I say safety first. I have to explain it to him. Safety first, hold mommy's hand, let's go to the car. Like, I have to give him those steps, and so that he can understand, okay, mommy is helping me at this point. But if we're at home, if we're not even doing anything, I ask his permission for me to touch him, because he doesn't, like, sometimes he just freak out and he's just like, no, and he'll push you off. He'll push you off. If he doesn't want a hug, if he doesn't want kisses, he will let you know, and that's perfectly okay. But he will come to me when he wants that affection, when he wants that love. He'll come and he'll sit with mommy, and it just melts my little heart, and then he'll go and do whatever it is that you want. Or if he wants to take a nap on mommy, you know, I take in those moments when he wants me to hold him, because it's not all the time. It's not all the time that he wants to be touched. It's not all the time he wants to be held. So when he does, I embrace it and I accept it, and I love it. On the other hand, when it comes to touch, my daughter is still having a really hard time with that, because as an older sister, she's trying to redirect him at times and things of that nature, and so she'll grab him, and when she grabs him, he flips, and I have to constantly remind her, Elena, you can't always just pull him. But mommy, I'm trying and he won't. I understand, you have to talk to him, and she still hasn't grasped that. And so when she pulls on him or tells him to come on, let's go, let's do this, let's do that, he freaks out, he flips out. So he's screaming, and now she's hollering like, come on, let's go, we gotta do this. That only escalates things. So I am constantly having to remind her, Elena, you can't do that, honey. You cannot just pull on him. You cannot just be this authoritative older sister. Like, you have to explain to him, you have to walk steps through that, and it's just a learning process for her, and it's still a learning process for us as well. What triggers him, what doesn't, what works best for him, so that it all works best for us as a family. Large crowds can really get him overstimulated, depending on the situation, depending on where we are. Familiar places like church, he's okay for the most part, as long as nobody tries to touch him like an adult. Like, he just, like, little people will be like, hey, little brown, or my son is a junior, so everyone calls him either little brown or brown junior, and them talking to him is fine, even though he doesn't pay half of them no attention at all whatsoever. But anybody that tries to give him a hug and touch him, like, he's like, no, leave me alone, stop. No, he just freaks out, and I have to tell him, you guys, my son doesn't do well with touch, so just, leave him alone. Just say hi and keep it moving. Now, everybody pretty much that's close to us at church that, seen my husband and I grow up from kids, they understand, and they know, and they respect it, and that's a beautiful thing. You always want people to respect your child's personal space and allow them to communicate and interact the way that they need to. Being a loner, my son, even though he is a pandemic baby, he still have been around kids on a regular, not as an infant, because we were home, but and in his toddler years, he has been around family and children at church. It has improved. I want to say it has improved, where he now will go to a child and try to interact with them. He's very socially awkward. He doesn't understand cues yet, which most children don't. So that doesn't bother me or worry me in that sense. But he doesn't, he just doesn't know how to interact with other kids at sometimes. But I'm so thankful for the progress that he has made, because before he would just stay to himself. It could be a room full of kids and he will be in the corner. Like, he's fine in the corner. He doesn't care. And I really want to believe that it has everything to do with me taking him to toddler time at the local library. That has been so tremendously helpful for him in his social skills. And even the librarians are so proud of how far he's come, because they remember when we first started going at the beginning of 2022, literally right after having our daughter, Brinley Ann, I started taking him to the toddler time while I was on maternity leave. And we did take a little break because, of course, I had to go back to work. And so that was really difficult to even go to toddler time. But after that, you know, after I got laid off from work, we started picking back up and going on Wednesdays again. And he was so excited to get back to toddler time. And the librarian was like, oh my gosh, I remember when you guys first started coming, and he was just not trying to be interactive, not trying to do anything. And now he's dancing, he's singing the songs, he's interacting with the other kids. Like, it's just so tremendously just fulfilling to see him in his element and being able to interact with other children. He still has a ways to go, but he is truly come a very long way with how he interacts with other children and not being so lonesome and standoffish. Random crying. That could be a toughie. He still does it. He'll have random crying sessions, just like today's Sunday. So Friday, picking up our daughter from school, and all of a sudden he just started crying, just randomly just started crying. I'm like, baby, what's wrong? Like, we're in a car. Babe, what's wrong, baby? Are you okay? And he'll just start crying. He just randomly start crying. And I'm like, okay, just let him have his moment. We call him, my husband and I call it, he's having a moment. Let him have his moment. He'll be all right. He'll be okay. Once he calms down and have his moment, he will then come to us and say, Mommy, you know, whatever he can communicate to us, he does that. So it's just random crying, random I can't. Meltdowns. A lot of people will see that his meltdown is just a good old temper tantrum and he needs to be disciplined. And that's simply just not the case. We had to truly understand what was a meltdown and what needs a behavior that needs to be addressed, and him being disciplined. It took some time to really understand, but at the same time it didn't, because you have to be in tune with your child's personality and their daily life, understanding how they operate on a daily is what I mean. Paying attention to cues, paying attention to behaviors to different situations, and having to understand when they are overstimulated, when they are stressed, when they have anxiety. It's understanding that versus, oh, I can't have a toy or I can't have a snack, and then you just break down and just have this big huge meltdown. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really have to be in tune with your child and understand those different situations and what causes what those triggers are to cause those meltdowns. I can have a prime example. Like, say, for instance, our son during church, he would go to Sunday school, and he absolutely loves being back there. He loves leading worship service for the children. Even though he's 3, like, he's been doing this since he was 2. So he really loves going back there, singing the worship songs that they sing and different things of that nature, and they will transition to another room. And if it's not a familiar person that he is comfortable with, and that doesn't know him and how he can how he is able to function in an environment, it just doesn't work. He had a complete meltdown, and one of our church members was like, he's just uncontrollable. He's just screaming, and he just can't be controlled. And that infuriated us. Like, oh my gosh, that infuriated us. It was so infuriating, because when you have a child that deals with autism or any type of mental disability or mental handicap, it's tough to leave your child in the hands of other people. And you don't want your child labeled as this uncontrollable child just because you don't understand him, you know? So that's what makes it so difficult for us to put him in school, even though we know he needs to be in school and can benefit from being in preschool at this time. It is just really, really hard for us, especially for me. It is tough for me to be able to move forward and allow him that space to grow, because I don't know who's going to be there to help him grow. Everybody is not fit to be in that realm of helping children with autism, like, or any type of, situation. Like, it's tough. I have talked to some wonderful person at church, and she has connected me with some great resources, so I will be reaching out to them soon. It's just taking me some time to just come to that realization, but I will be reaching out to start that process to get him into school and that whole process. She's told me about the process, so I'm really excited, because it's not what I thought it was, and it makes me feel a million times better. So I'm actually excited about it, but I will do a video about that on another time. But I can't wait to share that experience with you guys, because that is just like, it got me excited. But I'm still nervous, but it got me excited. So yeah, that I'm excited about it. Severe impatience. You guys, when I say severe impatience, like if he tells you, "Mommy, I want sausage pancake," I'm supposed to be like Fairly Odd Parents and wave the little wand and have it there that quick. Oh my goodness. Our kid is just severely impatient. I actually found a tool on Amazon that I said I was going to order to help me with his severe impatience. It's for kids with autism or ADHD or things of that nature, and it's supposed to help them with patience skills. So I need to go ahead and order that. I keep forgetting about it. Goodness. And it could be a very taxing thing. My goodness, it doesn't matter what it is. He wants it right then and there. Like, he doesn't understand wait. He doesn't understand mommy has to do this first. It's horrible, because he will bug you to no end until he gets what it is that he's asking for. Water, please. Water, please. Water, please. Son, I'm going to the cabinet to get a cup right now. Like, can you hold on just a second so I can get the cup, put the ice in a cup, put some water in a cup? Like, help me help you. Help me help you. But it's a day-to-day thing. I'm trying my best to not get so caught up in my emotions. I try to look at it in his little human, in his own little world, understand his world, so that I can better help him and just navigate the way that he navigates. that's my job right now. Lining up his cars or lining up his toys. That was one of the number one things that I saw that was very, very striking to me, that I was like, I really think this is autism. This was, he was a year old. He just started lining up his toys lining up different things, and we cannot touch them. Do not touch. When he's lining up, when he's organizing, we are not to touch at all whatsoever. When he's in that zone, we leave him alone and let him be, because if we touch it, he has a complete meltdown. We just cannot touch his toys. And it'll be at times where he's like, mommy, sit down, play monster trucks. And but when he has all of his trucks and he starts lining them up, he lines them up in a line. They have to be matching specifically. They have to be matching in a row. And they cannot be out of line. If they're out of line, he'll fix it. And make sure all of them is right there. And he doesn't have to play with them. He just wanted them to be lined up. So while he's doing everything else, he would come back and make sure that they're still lined up. He does not want them touched. And that's been very difficult recently, because now our daughter is mobile. She's mobile. She'll be a year old next week. She's mobile. She's wanting to play, and she's in that little sneaky conniving stage where she'll just swipe her brother's toys and take off running. And he flips. No matter how many trucks and cars that he has, he's not trying to share at that moment. He's not trying to allow her to play. So it's been a real struggle for me as a mom, because trying to teach him how to share, but also respecting where he is, in that moment, and allowing him to have that time and space to be, okay, this is my time, this is my space, to do what it is that I need to do, and that's really difficult, because, I have him crying and I have the baby crying, and I'm just like, mommy's not being mean. I'm pulled in two directions, not teaching him that it's okay to not be nice to your little sister and share, and Brinley, you can't touch his stuff, you can't do anything, you can't play with your brother, but at the same time, allowing my son to have that space, to have that moment to where that's what he needs to do. And it could be for 30, it could be for any amount of time. It could be for 10 minutes, 15, 20, 30, whatever it is. But once he's done with it, he's okay. He'll, smash the trucks, or, play with them, allow the baby to come back into his space, allow me to come in his space and play with him. But it can be very, very hard when it comes to him organizing, and when he's in that mode of, I want to organize, I want to do this, that, and the other. And that can be very, very tough. Having another little one that wants to play and has no comprehension of, personal space or anything of that nature. She's only 11 months old, So yeah, that is very difficult. Spinning wheels. Goodness. The biggest thing is anything that is big wheels, like on the bike. If it's on the side, just spinning the wheels on the bike, or on the stroller, just having to spin the wheels and just sit there and just spin the wheels. I'm just going to spin it just because it's there. That is one of the that's one of the signs that is very consistent with, a lot of children with autism, is spinning the wheels, just wanting to spin the wheels. Why? I have no idea. But spinning the wheels. He doesn't do that often, because it's not much for him to spin. But when he does see something, he has to spin it, or he has to touch something. That was another thing. I don't care what it is. It's something that he just has to touch it. He'll just, as long as he touched it, he's fine. As long as he had the wheel to spin, or he touched something that just captivated him, as long as he can touch it, he's good, and he'll walk off. That's all he wanted to do. Yeah, I have to touch it. I have to touch it. And the last thing is repetition. Oh my goodness, you guys. Repetition. And it could be words or phrases. That can be very hard to deal with at times. Especially when you responded to him, and it doesn't matter that you responded, he's still going to repeat it. So I will give you an example. From our house to our daughter's school is a good 15-minute drive. From the house to the school. Literally, from the house to the school. The entire time he was saying, "Mommy, it's an airplane. It's an airplane," but he loves seeing the airplanes in the sky. "Oh, it's an airplane? Yeah, Mommy, it's an airplane. It's so cool. Yes, it is. Mommy, it's an airplane. It is, baby? Yeah, it's an airplane. Oh, wow, buddy, that is so cool." I have to constantly have that conversation. He has to have that response, because if he doesn't, he gets upset. He gets frustrated because now you're ignoring him. Now you're ignoring him. So literally from the house to her school, airplane, Mommy, there's an airplane. Mommy, it's an airplane. Yeah, Mommy, it's an airplane. It's an airplane, baby. Yeah, look, it's cool. It is cool, baby. Mommy, it's an airplane. Like literally for 15 minutes straight, and he'll just sit there and look. It can be so frustrating at times, but I have to bring myself into a small prayer at those moments and be like, "God, just help me, help my son get through this little time that he has to keep repeating that." Because for him, he has to keep repeating that. He doesn't do it as much, which is good for me, but he still does it. He still does it. And he doesn't do it as much, but it's still often, if that makes sense. If that makes any sense. So, that can be very tough, because my husband, of course, he has a little bit more patience, because he's not there with me or with him every day, all day as I am. So when he gets struck with the repetition, it's okay for him. You know, he can handle it better. But for me, that is sleep deprived, that is exhausted, that is running on fumes as a stay-at-home mom, it could be a lot at times, and it could be very, very stressful. But I have to release that frustration and stress to my husband. Like, I have to release it and, you know, talk it out. And that really, really helps me, because he keeps me back grounded. Like, babe, you know, we just gotta help him through this. We have to just go with the flow, babe. Just go with the flow. Just like they say with people with Alzheimer's that don't remember anything, and they have that repetition, or they just started talking about stuff that is just so random. You know, just agree with it and just keep it moving. Agree with it and keep it moving, because eventually he's going to come out of that repetition, and, you know, we're on to the next thing. So yeah, that is all of the characteristics that our son shows as a young autistic child. He is high functioning, but I will dive into another video about the whole process of him getting evaluated. I will be doing another video, so please stay tuned for that. I just want to give you all how our process went. Any tips that or advice that I could give you guys, I would definitely be sharing that with you. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions at all about autism or anything that you may see in your child and you just want to talk about it, please feel free to reach out to me. Please leave a comment. If you need to email me, just say, "Hey, I need to email you." Great, I will definitely give you that, so we can just have those open conversations, because it's so taboo, especially in the Black community. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, but I have learned that opening up and talking about it, you will be amazed at how much resources that you can get from people that you know, because they don't talk about it. And it was just so amazing just to be able to find out that one of my mom's closest friends from church has all of the resources that I need. But I didn't know, because I just didn't know. So now I have all of those resources. Now I can start using those resources to be able to help our son, to help him develop into the little star that he was born to be. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and click subscribe. I promise you won't regret it. Until next time, you guys, I'll see you later.